I'm Margaret Ann Windsor. I just put up a video. Well, I put it up, I think, a couple of days ago above the laws, crimes unpunished. And the odd thing is, it came back on my front of my phone. I don't usually get those rejection slips. I never have. Saying this is a duplicate that's been put up before, which I can't find it. And now then I've deleted it because my phone is getting full. And uh, anyway, I got to wait till next week, late next week, before I can get my ride in and do some things. So anyway, I deleted it because my phone, like I say, gets full. Storage gets full, so I'd be unable to keep putting up videos. So anyway, I've lost that one and a couple of others that very same way. And this is the first time it's ever come back. On what am I trying to say? It's kind of the menu front where you get other notices, like Facebook notice, things like that, which is odd in itself. I wanted to put this up too. I may go back and try to put up a couple of more, but that was about Elizabeth and all that again, and the crimes done here to me, and nobody's ever published it or printed it or mentioned it or anything. If anything, anyway, I don't know if it'll ever be told or anything be done about it. And now I'm getting up here and I'm so tired. Mental fatigue and the fact that I've had so many fumes over the years, and it's got my immune system at a rock bottom, which is why I keep saying I'm tired and I'm drained and it doesn't fight off things anymore. This is what I wanted to put up. I just saw that video of Rosemary Kennedy. And in 1941, the same year, I was kidnapped and brought over here to Moulton, Alabama, given another name, the name of the twin, Peggy, which is a nickname for my real name, Margaret Ann Windsor, Victoria II, Queen Victoria II, and I am the legal heir. Now I am going to lose my train of thought today. I'm tired, and I've been up trying to clean the place before. Anyway, well, here I'd laugh. That's how I get through it. I wanted to go to this, so that's not what I was going to do next, but I wanted to put this up. Well, I was talking about Kennedy's sister, Joe Kennedy, in 41, had his own daughter, or signed the papers, let me put it this way. You wouldn't want to misinterpret any of these nice people that did all this to me. For her to be lobotomized. Now, he was specifically made U.S. Ambassador to England in 36 when my father became king, to take my father down because he wouldn't follow their orders, and help orchestrate all this with the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers. Part of my own family, Elizabeth's father, George VI, Cain and Abel, right? Helped kidnap me and take down my father, and he's illegal, and so is Elizabeth and that whole lineage. So I am tired. I'm going to have to get up. I've done a good bit of work this morning, though, since I got up. And I wanted to put this up. I was talking about her, the lobotomizing her. And by the way, she died on the day that is supposed to be my birthday, January the 7th. That's what I've always had to use. And it's not the twins, the date of birth. They mark through all that, the state of Alabama, which is illegal on the birth certificate. So that tells you how everything's been orchestrated and nothing's done. Anyway, she died, I forgot what year, 2005. I think she lived a long time. But anyway, she died in St. Atkinson Hospital, and you'd have to Google it. I had it written down and I put it up. Anyway, there's a video about that and about her and what happened to her. Now then, I have told about Henry Kissinger, and I've told this before. Back the 1972, I believe I'm correct, and that's when I saw some things in Gonzales, and I've put the background on that, some of it. And I'm not going to do it again. I'm really just too tired. And ongoing, I'm going to go to, well, I saw some things. And they said, there's another time, what I do with it, if I don't try to laugh it off, what in the heck do I do? I'd fold up. Anyway, he sent his henchmen after me. There's four of them, best I can remember. And I ended up, and it was dark, and I'm not going to go in again to what they did. They meant to kill me. And I mentioned Smokey Stover in here and working for Tiki Fences, and it gets in about Elvis, some things, records and stuff. And I find out now that that's not the Smokey Stover that he claimed to be, so you've got a chain of events that everybody else thought he was Smokey Stover too. The real Smokey Stover did record, and this Smokey Stover had Tiki Fences, but he kind of made unique things for doctors' offices or anyone, kind of really pretty carvings and stuff. But he had records all over his office, and out where I was, he had Elvis gospel music, the photos and Elvis and all that all around. So as far as I know, he was the real Smokey Stover, but my point, he was there that night, the best I can remember. He's the one that did save my life, but not before they all did what they did to me. And they were going to kill me, and I remember the black guy was going to kill me, and he said, you know that Gonzales will have you killed. And the guy I'm calling Smokey Stover, that later it was just a couple of years later, I went to work in his office there in Smyrna, Georgia, Marietta, Smyrna. Was working for him when this, I saw the pictures and the Elvis and all this. And some other things that he deliberately told me, I guess, I was made privy to. Now, I'm back to that. I was up in the corner, dead end, Terrell Mill Estates in Marietta, and that's where Warren and Rosina Matthews in that area were shot dead. They had just bought a home there. I believe I'm correct about just buying the home. It was a new area. And they were gunned down, and they worked at Piedmont Hospital, where a lot of this I told about was happening. Gene Schrokerman was killed in Hardiman's office, and Hardiman has a connection to my husband told me. He was asking about what I knew about Gene Schrokerman's murder. Well, you get Carol Johnson involved, who I thought and still do was a good lady, but then she kind of let me down. Big deal, too. So anyway, you got all these doctors involved, me almost being killed again in April Fool Day of 80. Now I want to get back to Terrell Mill, these four guys. And it was dark, and I ran from them, and I had my clothes torn and everything, and scratches on me when I finally made it home that night. And I remember going in the door, and Mark said, "Mom, what's happened to you? We didn't know where you were." And that's about all I remember. I was pretty bad off. And John was out of town. So anyway, what made them one thing was the guy I'm calling Smokey Stover said weren't going to kill me, that he would take responsibility. This is after they'd done all the other and run me through the bushes, and me screaming and begging, and because I'd seen something go on in Gonzales's office that I put up. And it's dark, and one other thing that kept them from killing me was the fact that a car drove up right behind and they made they knew that the people in the car were getting their license plate, so this scared them. And anyway, the car didn't leave. Well, it did. It drove up and it was dead end right there, and they turned around slow, and so I was able to get in my car. They let me get in my car and leave. And because this car had driven up there and done that. And then Smokey said he was, who I'm calling Smokey, was going to take responsibility for me not being killed. So now then, it's not but a week or two later when this happened, the Watergate tapes were done. And the lobotomy, and I put this up, was they tried to do one on me. Would have if the Brits hadn't come through with whatever threats for ransom they had to pay to keep them from doing it to me. So the Watergate tapes were subpoenaed, and this got Henry Kissinger, who was your Secretary of State and Defense with Nixon. The good guy there was Ziegler, Ron Ziegler. And I later in '84, when that endorsement by Hustler magazine was made, because Flint had been killed and all this. Let me get my train of thought. I worked through a temp out of Rockville, Maryland, called Kensington Temp, and I had worked there a little bit some years before, a couple of years before. I was made homeless and everything when I was up there, but in '84 I had an apartment there, and I'd run in the campaign and been flown out to Flint's in late '83 in the endorsement, and he said I knew who was responsible for his shooting in Lawrenceville, Georgia. And anyway, I worked for Ron Ziegler, which tells you something. All this can't be a coincidence. So he was a nice guy. They had a show out in Vegas, and he called me. And I worked about, not long, about 5 or 6 days, I guess. And I was answering the phone and like a receptionist type. And it was a ghost, what am I trying to say, employees there, not very many. Anyway, back to, I was just saying that about Ron Ziegler because he was there during the Watergate and the subpoena of the Watergate 18-minute-and-a-half gap that was subpoenaed. Well, they made sure you couldn't hear that. Tell you what was on it, and I put this up way back, was this is in Nixon's office, and his secretary, personal secretary, gets involved in the lying and everything about the tapes. Henry Kissinger, your Rockefeller Rothschild, the Bilderbergers, the Kennedys, the Roosevelts. Henry Kissinger was Secretary of State and then Secretary of Defense, and they all, from day one, have known about my kidnapping, the takedown of my father, who my father was really married to, the imposter married Wallace Simpson, all this. So now then, Kissinger's ordering that if I'm not, if the Brits don't, or my family or Brits don't do as they say, they're going to lobotomize me. And I've put this up. I was drugged. I knew what was going on, and I was taken there. Gonzales did. I was taken there, and I knew everything that was going on. It's terrifying. There was about 6 people across, right, a small hall. This was a clinic where the trolley tracks were in College Park, Georgia, and the tracks were still there, and so were the clinic. I'm talking about trolley crossings from way back, and the clinic was still there in '82, about November. So most people would know where this was. You could find it if you cared to. I couldn't just make all this up. For God's sake, no one could. It was my life. So it happened. Anyway, I could hear what they were saying, and they were in the other room, and I was trying to think, well, if I can just say something, maybe they'll help me. But they were dressed in surgical, standing right there in a little circle. Well, the doctor behind me, this killer doctor behind me, had the phone. Gonzales is over me. They're going to do it to me, lobotomize me. So that's what I'm putting this up. I've put it up so many times. But when I was reading about Rosemary Kennedy in '41, when her own father okayed it. And when they kidnapped me, her father was very instrumental, in JFK, her brother, in kidnapping me with the Illuminati and my own uncle. Roosevelt, I don't have to go through that again. But the phone call, if it didn't come through, and the doctor was behind me, and they were acting like this is fine, you know? So the call came through, and I lived to die another day. And I wanted to add this. Henry Kissinger was on it, giving the orders. Nixon and Nixon's office, go back and look at it. You'll see that Nixon's secretary got in on this mess of covering it up. And I wanted to jump to this part. I was kidnapped. My father did the right thing. This has been a pack of lies against him. My mom's been removed from history almost. And the crimes committed ongoing against me and my sons here are so horrendous. And I did want to add that. And I had this clipping for a long time. And I had so much over the years I can't carry it at all. So I threw it away, or somebody took it. Some of Jack's letters, Hartsfield's letters, were removed too, so I don't know. Anyway, it was when Diana was giving this big to-do up in Washington, D.C. I guess it's the embassy. It was hell. And everybody was there, and she was dressed, and this was going to charity. Remember, this is me that should be there. They're illegal, and they do all know. Diana was told to, we just don't talk about it. So, talk about my father being taken down. He wasn't married to Wallace. They're illegal. I'm over here, the real monarch, and this has happened to me. She's talking to the man that ordered it, lobotomized me, on the Watergate tapes. Now then, she's dressed in all these jewels and finery, and she's selling these gowns and giving it to charity, and everybody's loving her for giving this to charity, and oh and ah. And I'm in rags, and things done to me that you wouldn't do the worst criminal, and to my sons, who are heirs after me. Not Harry, not William, not Charles, not Elizabeth. They're criminals, cold-blooded criminals, traitors. Now, they took down a video a while ago, I said above the law, and it came back on the front. Now, I've never gotten a rejection saying that on this front part of my phone. And then when I went back, I saw where it said that it had already been uploaded. Well, I couldn't find it, and I went back quite a ways. And now I've deleted the original tape I made, video. But this is what I wanted to say. There was a picture there with Henry Kissinger, the man that ordered it, done on me, 18.5-minute gap that was subpoenaed. And he's with Diana, and she's all dressed in her finery. He's dressed in his suits. And he said to her, this is in the paper and all this, and he's right there, and I think, I don't remember if he had his hand around her waist or that. But anyway, I really can't remember that. He was right there close to her, next to her. And he said that he hoped she would, he said he thought Diana should be queen. So they've already gotten rid of my dad and me and tried to lobotomize me, and the things they've done to Mark and Scott, my sons. The hideousness of it all. And he said to her that he thought she should be queen, and that the ultimate aphrodisiac